Preservation Act Committee. So we have tonight an agenda. The first item on it is approval of minutes. Now, we did not approve the minutes last week because not everybody had them. So this week we have January 20th of 2026, and that's the full committee. January 23rd, which is the working group, and January 26th of 2026. So that's again a full committee. So does anyone have any questions or concerns?
I do want to say something, and this relates to a issue that I'm going to raise later when we talk about the proposed warrant article. This has to do with the proposed $400,000 grant to the AHT. Looking back at the minutes, I caught in the January 26th meeting notes, and they do reflect what was discussed because I listened to the hearing recording. The reference to that grant is of funds for preservation projects. And that's different from what we talked about in the January 20th meeting, which was for non-project specific funds. And I was kind of caught by surprise. I guess I wasn't paying attention on the 26th that whether intentionally or not, there was this.
Okay, well, but you're not questioning the minutes, and so I think we should just go ahead and approve them.
Yeah, I don't have I just want to point that out. But
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I will make a motion to approve the January 20th minutes if we have to do them separately, because not every bidder is at the 23rd. But
Okay.
I can.
Okay, so who, there, I assume there's a second there? The 20th? So Steve moves and Sam seconds. All those in favor, Blair?
Aye.
Clara?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
You're moving around, guys. Stay put. Minnie?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye. Was this for sorry, which date was this for?
The 20th.
Okay, aye.
And the chair votes aye. Did I get everyone? Clara, did I get you?
Yes, you did.
Okay, it's just that people are all of a sudden are moving around on the screen and it confuses me. Okay, so now let's take the minutes of January 23rd of the working group. And this is the Muddy River working group. So Clara, I believe you were there.
Yeah. Yes.
And
I was.
I know David and I and Sam. Okay. So who wants to make a motion on that one?
I'll move to. Okay.
I second.
Thank you.
Okay, so Clara moves and David seconds. Okay, all those in favor, Blair, you were just vote absent.
Yes. Absent.
Okay, Clara,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Minnie,
Sorry. One moment.
You're not
Aye.
muted.
I
you were absent, I think.
was I absent? Okay, look.
Oh, yeah, that was a subgroup. I'm just
Okay,
making
all
sure
right. Sorry. Then
yeah.
I take back my eye.
Okay, Sam,
Aye.
Steve,
Absent.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, now let's move to January 26th. That's a full meeting. So can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve them.
Steve moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Clara seconds. Okay, all those in favor. Now stay put, please, everyone. Blair,
Aye.
Brooke,
Was this for the 26th?
yes.
Absent.
Clara,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Minnie,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay, great. Now we move on to a public hearing and possible vote on the CPAC warrant article for the 2026 annual town meeting. So I'm opening this up for a public hearing. Laura, would you please put up the proposed warrant article? And I'd like to start, well, I know it may not be in order of the issues, but I'd like to start with the grant to the Affordable Housing Trust. But let's get through some of these other things first, like the things that aren't controversial. And that is this first section. Can you go down, please? These are the amounts in the expected, each one of these warrant articles is really three or four votes, depending upon the year and the significance. So these are the total appropriations. So there shouldn't be really much question about this. So why don't we just go ahead and vote it? This is the money that we are expected to get next year. That we haven't started to get it yet. But we will get it between next year, July 1st and June 30th. And we're in the fortunate position of spending money that we have already gotten, and we're spending the money that we got last year. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. And so we know how much we got, and and the advantage of that is that if at the end these estimates, which this particular section is about, the estimates are off a little bit, or just you're not correct. We didn't get the amount of the state match, or we didn't get the interest, or we didn't get the tax revenue, then we don't have to do that what's it called, a true up, and it's a correction. And it's kind of a pain. We had to do it one year and we didn't enjoy it. So this is a way of getting around it. But we do have to approve appropriating money we've already appropriated the money. I guess I keep getting mixed up. We already appropriated the money that we raised last year because we know what it was. So
Nancy, just one comment on that. These accounts, this first vote is on revenue accounts, and it authorizes the treasurer, as the money comes in from property taxes, the match, interest payments every month, that the treasurer is able immediately to transfer it into the CPA
right,
account,
and that's
rather than having to wait for a whole year until the books close.
right, and that's to our advantage too, because as soon as it starts hitting our account, we get the interest on it. So, and that goes for the next box, which is the committee administration amount. Again, we already know what that is, and this is the amount that we will be appropriating basically and spending next year. So I think what I would like to do is to take a vote on the annual revenue warrant article or warrant requests. And there's 5 of them in total. And I think we can knock that off without much discussion unless somebody has questions or concerns. Okay, hearing none, I would ask for a motion.
I'll move.
Okay.
David?
Nancy,
So
would
that-
you just repeat I see these numbers. This is what expected, and we're saying we vote for yes, these expected numbers. I just a little confused.
Yes,
It's-
we're voting for this expected revenue. And as David said, it allows the town to when the money comes in from the tax revenue, from the interest, or from the state match, it doesn't languish in a town account. It gets immediately put into the CPA accounts.
Okay.
So that we get interest.
So we get the interest.
But
So-
also, Nancy, is it fair to say that the way these numbers were arrived at is we assume that we're going to get $3.9 million. We're allowed
Yes.
to spend 5% of that on the administration, which is where the 196,000 comes from. And
Correct.
you have to spend at least 10% on each of the three categories, which is why
Correct.
there's the 393,000 for each of those three out of the 3.93 million, and then that leaves the rest to be allocated as we determine when the time comes.
Exactly.
That's
Perfect.
correct.
Perfect.
That's where those numbers come from. Okay,
Okay. Are we ready to, do we have a second?
I'll
I'll
second it.
second it.
Okay, David moves and Steve seconds. All those in favor? I can't see you. Could you take it down for a second, Laura? Okay, Blair,
Aye.
Brooke,
Aye.
Clara,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and where's Minnie? Minnie,
I.
and chair votes aye. Okay, we've done that part of the business. Okay, let's go back to the warrant article, if you would, Laura. Okay, as it turns out, the housing ones are first. I'd like to go down to a little further, if you would, please. Okay, that's right. Number 9, Housing Advisory Board, Affordable Housing Trust, for the purpose of community housing preservation, and that's caused some consternation and debate here, so we need to talk about that. In the category of community housing, subject to the condition that a memorandum of understanding between the Housing Advisory Board and the Community Preservation Act be executed, said funds to be expended under the direction of the Housing Advisory Board and oversight by the Community Preservation Act Committee. Okay, so apparently the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust does not want us to limit it to preservation. And there were many discussions back and forth. That's the preservation of housing in low-income affordable housing in Brookline is what we have targeted approximately little less than 50%. We've spent 50% of our funds that we've had available in the last few years on creation, and that was at Walnut High. And the rest we've spent on the very smaller projects, but very worthy projects, which are to help the tenants not have to live in deteriorated conditions. And that includes roofs, which are leaking. And this year we're being asked to devote money to windows, which are at the end of their useful life. We had also in the past couple of years given grants to Brookline Community Development Corporation, again for the preservation of 2 buildings, one on Boylston, one on Beacon, to again improve the lives and the conditions that our current low-income tenants live in. So the question is there other language that we could use that would be acceptable to the committee and work for the Affordable Housing Trust? David, you want to add anything to that, as you've been involved in these discussions?
No, I think you've captured it fine.
So
Okay,
I think
I think you should probably take down the thing so I can see people, if you would, Laura. I'm sorry. Okay.
So
Okay.
Nancy, could I elaborate on what I was starting to talk about earlier with reference to this minutes?
Sure.
So I'm pretty well aware of this, the reasons for this issue. And I think the way, speaking for the HAB, and I know Roger is in on this meeting as well. I think what the HAB was assuming, and this was the way it was initially discussed at those minutes from the housing related meeting on the 20th, CPA funds can be used for both creation of affordable housing, like the Walnut High project, and the preservation of affordable housing. And I see no good reason to limit the use of this particular $400,000 tranche of funds to projects that are only come within the preservation aspect of CPA eligible projects. I mean, when HAB provided additional information on the projects that we funded over the last 10 plus years, 400 or 500 projects, most of them are new construction. And who knows what I mean, we know that there are going to be more phases, a second phase of Walnut High. There's the Babcock Street parking lot. There's potential housing on Fisher Hill. There may very well be more calls for preservation related projects, but I don't see any reason to limit the allocation of those funds to preservation projects, as long as they're CPA eligible.
Correct, and that is a crucial piece of it. Anybody else?
I agree with what Steve's saying. I mean, I think that, as I understand it, there's been a lot of expenditure from the Housing Trust Fund that HAB has, and that's a place where they really have the ability to have flexibility to support housing, affordable housing in town. And I think that having it not specifically directed, I think really gives them flexibility that they need, and I don't see any downside to it myself.
Okay, so their mission essentially is a creation, which is a very good mission, and you know, it's something that we need. We also need to protect, in my view anyway, the tenants whom we currently have in the town. That's the case with BCDC, and it's the case with the BHA, and there may be others that come along. So we have focused on, in the past, except for Walnut High, we focused on preservation and support as well. That's the other category, and that's the grant we made to BCDC, $250,000 for emergency services for tenants who were under threat of eviction. So just so that you understand that context, this is something we have been focusing on. Clara?
I think one of the goals of the town is to create more affordable housing, and the Housing Trust has this ability. So by simply adding the word for the preservation and/or creation, I think it covers a lot of bases. And so I think to give them that flexibility is what I thought the money was theirs, as long as they followed CPA rules. They could do preservation or creation. If the opportunity comes along to buy a building that has 10 units or something and develop that as affordable housing, I would think we would want to encourage that.
I think that's under the category of acquire, but so there are four things they can
That
do.
would be creation.
It's both. It's both. But if you're going to buy something, you're not creating it, you're buying it.
You're creating affordable units that weren't affordable before. That, I mean.
Yes, but you're buying the building, so you're acquiring. It's all part and parcel of the same thing as far as I'm concerned in terms of creation and acquiring. Because, but Walnut High, we're not going to acquire really. It's going to be create.
All I'm saying is why put in, I mean, I think we can also, the Affordable Housing Trust can also support. I mean, as it happens, we didn't provide in this initial round, we didn't provide funding to BCDC for their Boylston Street project, but we are going to now fund their additional work.
We did, Steve, last
year. I know the
year.
CPA did, but the HAB was not
the HAB
the original funders of that project. But we're going to fund finishing the project for elements that may or may not be CPA eligible. It doesn't matter, the way this has been worked out. So, if CPA wants to be the primary provider of funds to support like tenant rental assistance, that's fine. The HAB has done that too with Housing Trust Fund, but you know, we're just looking to be as flexible as possible in how that $400,000 is used, as long as projects are CPA eligible. That's very simple.
And Nancy,
Yeah,
I'd like to jump in. I'm very happy to hear that the representative from HAB and also Roger in our discussions is seeking to establish the principle of not restricting the funds to allow the Affordable Housing Trust Fund the discretion and scope to pursue opportunities to foster, develop, provide affordable housing. But I'm a bit concerned with the draft memorandum of agreement that has been submitted to this, presented to this committee with a PowerPoint and a draft of the article. Because what happened in that? That article restricts 30% of future Community Preservation Act revenue to creation of affordable housing. So we're looking at, if we're going forward with the memorandum of agreement as submitted and as presented to this committee, that it's going to provide a massive restriction to the use of the CPA funds. So, you know,
Well, David, that's a draft for discussion. It's not a take it or leave it.
Well,
mean, it's memorandum of
I know, but
understanding.
I know.
I think
but
David's just
we-
pointing out that's a problem with it. And
that's a-
that
And
this
it's
vote
approach.
in no way suggests that we should accept that provision of the memo of agreement. I think that's the
Yeah, but we need to
message.
know that, we haven't heard about any flexibility on that, and very concerned about it.
Well, I mean, we've tried to introduce and talk about it. This committee, or the leadership of this committee, said we don't even want to talk about it until after we get through this funding round. So, okay.
Well, we see how busy we are until then.
Yeah, okay. So it's not on the table right now. So we can deal
Okay.
with that when the time comes.
Great, I'm glad to hear it. Minnie,
Yeah, no, I
I'm
was
gonna call, just excuse me a
Yeah.
minute. I just want to let people know that I'm calling on members of the committee first, and then I will call on members of the public. Yeah, go ahead.
So two things, and I'm just reacting to the last part about the memorandum of understanding. I mean, it was very, when I read it and when it was presented to us, I thought it was very much like a draft proposal, and we haven't really kind of gone into that in any level of like detail. So again, I mean, Steve, I hear you, it was draft, and that's, you know, we're going to have further discussion on it at some other point. So that's, you know, tabled in my view. The other thing is I agree on the spending of the funds, which is, you know, as long as the funds, like say out of the 400,000 are spent within the boundaries of what the CPA will fund. And, you know, dollars are fungible anyway, like there's a whole load of expenses, right? So you could have CPA eligible kind of expenses on the 400,000, whether it's the creation or the preservation of affordable housing, as long as it meets those two criteria, I think we are in a solid place.
Anyone else from the committee have a question or a comment? Okay, I think I've seen Roger's hand. I'll call on Roger Blood.
Thank you very much, everybody, Nancy, David. I'd like to offer some further perhaps perspective. Interesting to listen to this discussion so far. Happy to see the support for a broader basis of possible future uses of the 400,000 of HAB funds. And I had I was able to observe your last couple of meetings, beginning with the meeting at which you found that receiving BCDC's supplemental funding request, that you were inclined to entertain it, but there was a timing issue with your annual funding and BCDC's urgent need, where they're halfway through their project and middle of the winter and the like, that the timing really needed to be more sooner, a lot sooner. And after that meeting, I was thinking, and I think you all in the meeting itself recognized that the HAB and the trust would have at least that ability to advance the timing to meet this critical need of BCDC on this project. I initiated, after thinking about this a bit further, and also the fact that we had this $1 million placeholder request, non-project specific, already submitted to your committee, the CPA committee, and much earlier. So there was no real thought in our minds of there being any connection between these two things: BCDC's need, your attempting to deal with it, and our having this other request in for funding. So after thinking about it a bit, I called David, and David and I actually had a couple of very good exploratory conversations about this and how to be in a sort of a problem-solving mode for everybody's benefit, including especially BCDC. And I made an initial proposal and suggestion to him that I thought was going to work. And I'd like to share it quickly with you, even though we ended up going in a somewhat different direction. And my thought was that the HAB, with proper vetting and due diligence and screening and the like, which we're scheduled to do with the BCDC at our meeting this Wednesday, assuming that all goes well, that we would commit the whole, I think you've got a number of 800,000. I think it's going to end up being about 822,000. In the bigger picture of things, we had talked about a 50-50 match, but we landed on the 400 figure. So I don't think there's any need to go back and revisit that. So my thought was that the HAB could shall I say, front or get early approval for the full amount needed. But yet partner with you all financially, because it has been your project and you were willing to do some funding to try and get it over the finish line. And I could see how pressed you are in terms of what you have available, and you've had to been cutting back. So an opportunity to reduce the 800 to half that amount, to 400, would certainly likely be welcomed by your committee. So I suggested that if you were willing to vote, I know you can't commit, but put in this warrant article that you're discussing now, the recommendation to town meeting to fund 400,000, that later the timing could be result in your contributing after the fact to share the funding for this project with new money from the trust matching it. David, he liked the idea, and I thought we were heading for the goal line, so to speak, but he raised an issue which I wasn't fully aware of, and that is that this wouldn't work the way I was proposing it, because the CPA regulations have a prohibition against the use of CPA funds, even if they're fully compliant in every other respect, for replacing monies that have already been committed by another entity. I was familiar with that, but thought it was only committed by like an appropriation by the town for its budget. But David noted that, and he gave me the citation, that there really isn't any such restriction in there, that it just simply prohibits replacement.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
still,
just to
yeah,
interrupt, Roger, you're on that point. The section 55C is very clear that it's municipal funds. And anyway, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Right. So even while I was getting some alternative interpretations of that, it was a legal question. We are under a lot of time stress here, time requirement, and kind of on the fly in our discussions, it occurred to me there would be another way that didn't run afoul of that regulation. Just accept it from what David was saying, and try it a little bit differently. And so what I suggested at that, and continue our conversation, was why not have the trust fund fully fund upfront the full amount. And then, and you'll remember this part, but I don't think it was specifically put together in your last meeting because some of our discussions with David have been since then. Look at the existing HAB trust fund request for a non-project specific allocation and reduce that by 600,000 so that you would be allocating 400,000 instead of more on a non-project specific basis to the trust. And that, of course, wouldn't actually get funded until after you had town meeting approval, perhaps in June of the funding itself. But that would very nicely get around this no replacement restriction and yet end up achieving the same goal. So David seemed to like that, and I was very happy that it looked like we worked together and we were, you know, funding together and getting to yes for BCDC. So that was great until I observed your more recent meeting. Now I had no access to that meeting, so I couldn't participate. But when it was presented verbally with this quite a real surprise to me that this preservation restriction was being added, which is a huge constriction on opportunities to use the funding, and so I didn't quite understand, and I basically said, this doesn't look like it's going to be something that the HAB would find doable unless there's a very good reason for it. So I'm very gratified to hear your discussion this evening that you're willing to consider allowing a broader use of these funds. Now, the total wording of your proposed warrant article, I don't think I've seen that before, and I think there's another concern with this where I'm hoping, and I'm not sure you're going to be inclined to wordsmith on the fly this evening. If you would, I'd be thrilled. But I think there's some confusion that's entering into this that's not necessary between, and I see there's a reference to an MOU in the wording, which is not connected to everything I've just described. You're correct that MOU is for future discussion. It's got many things in it, but it's certainly not intended to be tied to solving this immediate problem, as I think we're all trying to do. And the appropriate device or document, and it's right off the shelf for this, and you've done this a lot of times already, is not an MOU for the 400,000. It's a grant agreement. It's something that you're used to. However, a grant agreement, all the ones you've ever done have been for other types of applications. You've worked closely with the Community Preservation Commission and Stuart Saganor, and I know many of you know them. And Laura, I assume you've worked with them not only now but perhaps previously. If you look on their website, they have two standard forms of grant agreements. They're both widely used in many other communities, whereas so far you've only had reason to use one, which is a specific project grant agreement. There's another standard agreement, which is almost like just filling in the blanks, and it doesn't have a lot of conditions. I'd encourage you to have a look at that, and it's expressly exactly for the purpose that we're talking about here, or at least I'm talking about and had discussed with David.
Excuse me, Roger, I'd like to clarify one thing, which is that we have done both grant agreements and MOUs. Grant agreements we make with outside groups like BCDC, outside nonprofits, churches, the temple, etc. The MOUs are done with town entities, and we consider the AHT to be a town entity. So that's basically the difference.
Well, the grant agreement, the standard template grant agreement that the CPC offers to help all communities is not for town departments. It's expressly designed and ready to use off the shelf. Just fill in the names and the specifics and the dollar amount expressly for housing
We've already had vetting of this this scenario with town council, the first year, we spent a lot of time on this. Town councils approved it, the moderator did suggest a little bit of change to the wording we initially submitted to him. But, and his input is very important, and, we're waiting to hear from town council.
Roger?
Yeah.
But
That's
I
fine.
don't
If I
expect him
might
to
just
say
finish up
very
quickly,
very
if I can, I'm almost finished then, and this can stay as a consideration. It's a document, but the document itself, I think, needs to be consistent with what I'm hearing you all say now here. It's a non-project specific grant agreement. It would be for preservation and creation, but it would be overseen at that point through the trust. It would not be a dual board, responsibility. And I want to just assure everybody, if there's any question about this, the housing trust.
The wording is under the direction of the trust with oversight of the CPA committee. We are not giving up that role. It's important to us to ensure that the money is spent in a CPA eligible way. And
Yes,
so
and we totally agree with that. And that to me is a function of compliance, absolutely, end up being Laura, and the trust would set up a new account, because it's not only compliance with the regulations, it's having a separate account in the trust that is specifically CPA money, so that there is a reportability, audit trail, and eventually it can only be used to be CPA compliant. That's the kind of wording. That's the kind of wording I think that should be attached to the 400,000. I just want to finally assure everybody, if there's any question about this part, we are serious about doing preservation and have a long track record, as well as creation. There's no bias at the trust to do just build. And including the information that we submitted to you, we did for the BHA in recent years, 90 Longwood and 61 Park Street, 99 and 100 units of restoration of the units, no new building at all. And of course, we've stepped up at our own initiative here to help you and work with the BCDC to do their current project, which of course is also preservation. So,
well, I would offer that we say preservation, creation, and support, because the BCDC has received in the category of support $250,000 to assist tenants who are under threat of eviction, low-income tenants. And my understanding is that money is pretty much gone, and I would expect them to come back to the CPA as well as to the HAB. But you've in the past, I believe you have never funded support. But there's no reason.
We did. We supported the initial rental assistance pilot, and I wouldn't want.
Great. Good to hear. So there's no objection to saying support as well.
Right. But at the time when the application for these funds is received, I think we need to be clear that decision about which application or request is approved or disapproved, it needs to be the trust at that point. It's not a joint decision to vet and individual applications.
Roger.
Going back for a minute, whether we call it a memorandum of understanding or a grant agreement is it's ministerial, right? We know that the content of it is going to be the same as or very close to what the coalition has provided on its website, a non-specific fill in the blanks kind of grant agreement. They call it a grant agreement. I think it's really our choice in terms of whether we call it one or the other, but that's the content.
I totally agree with that. I was only concerned that there seemed to be some confusion about the content of the non-binding document that we had brought to you and asked for you to consider. That's a different matter.
Roger.
Right.
Thank you for providing all that context. And we have like half an hour left before several members have to leave.
No, I'm finished.
Okay. And as far as I'm concerned, as the HAB rep on this board, as long as we, as Nancy just proposed, modify the beginning of this number 9 grant description for the purpose of community housing creation, preservation, or support. As far as what the rest of it says, whether it's a MOU or a grant agreement, we can worry about that when it comes time to negotiate that.
Right.
And as long as we change that wording, I think I'm satisfied with this. I think Roger.
Okay, I
And
want to
there's-
get,
And there's one other thing we need to change, because we've already had, Laura sent a draft of this to the moderator, and he came back and flagged the last wording there about under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee. He says that's 2 bites on the apple. So that's why we change it to oversight. So that makes it clear that once this money is appropriated and it's in the hands of HAB and only HAB is directing.
okay,
So-
and I see Minnie had her hand up. Minnie?
Well, I actually put it down because at some point I was just kind of a little confused when Roger was talking about the 800,000 and then the 400,000. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
wait,
This-
are we
this
talking
is-
about something incremental or are we talking about the same 400,000? And it seems like we're talking about the same 400,000. And basically what Roger was talking about was just the flexibility around that.
Yes.
So-
But
oh,
and it's important to say that this is an MOU, or, I mean, I'm assuming we'll call it an MOU, but again, I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And that is for this year only. It's not precedential. It doesn't, did I say that word right?
Precedent.
setting a precedent.
Precedential, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to get it mixed up with
Yeah.
Trump. It's for this year, and that's what we're doing. And the committee is going to vote on it, and we'll express our opinion about it. And it sounds like people are on board with what the suggestions that have come out. Was there, wait, I really, really want to move this on because we're losing Minnie and Sam in 25 minutes. And we have to get through the rest of the things, and we need a vote so Laura can take this to the bank and get it done by the 25th with an explanation. So unless you have a pressing concern that has not been expressed, I think we should move on. And we can vote at that, with the whole thing at, well, maybe we should take this vote just to get it
All I
done.
wanted to ask was if Laura could put up this bit of the wording and revise it to what we're saying, that's all. If that's a document you can edit.
Let me pull up the Word version.
Okay.
I do have that.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the one that came with the meeting announcement, and it doesn't have the word oversight in it. So this is a more recent version.
Mhm.
That was at the suggestion of Neil Wyshynski.
Good.
Okay, so here we are.
Preservation, creation, preservation, and support. Add those words.
Why don't we
Wouldn't
just
it be
add
acquisition?
acquisition for good
Mhm.
measure?
We don't know. I would say, please don't do
Yeah.
that because we have a policy at this point of not being in the ownership business. Well, that could change in the future, but right now, that would be misleading.
That's fine. I
I
don't
think
have a
this
problem with that.
is fine.
Okay, and then we're gonna change it to grant agreement, or do we care about that?
Well, I think let's leave that up to town council. It really is, my understanding is
Right.
that it doesn't matter. And, it's that the MOUs are done for town bodies and the grant agreements are done for
Right,
bodies that we don't have any, firm relationship with, or we're
And
not
then-
part of the town. So I think, like BCDC and the churches that we've worked on, the temple last year, that kind of thing. So,
Nancy?
but
Nancy?
I'll let town council, if he wants to call it a memo and a grant agreement, or he wants to call it a memo agreement, a memo of understanding, I think.
It's
This is,
ministerial.
this is, there's it's useful for the, I think, for the clarity for the committee. The other MOU that was, I think, sort of being confused a little bit with this, the most important difference is that one is non-binding. It's a statement of policy, whereas this one would be, whatever it's called, would be a binding document.
It's the contract. Yeah.
Yes, the other
Yeah,
one
it's
is
a
not.
contract either way. Okay.
Yeah, well,
Can we
that's all.
move it?
If you say it's non-binding, but it has some pretty binding kinds of things in it. So yes, we need to work on it.
All in due time.
Yes.
All right.
But I just felt it was important to bring that concern out into the open at this point.
Okay, thank you, David. So can we just vote on this particular one, since we've had this long discussion? And, can you put it down now, Laura? So that I can see everybody?
I'll
Thank
make a
you.
motion to vote on the reworded article related to.
Revised item 9.
Revised- no, Item 9.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Steve moves and Blair seconds, all in favor. Blair,
Aye.
Clara,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Minnie,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and who else am I missing? Brooke,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, so let's move
you.
on now to the other, starting at the top. Laura, I'm sorry, because you put the, you're gonna spend your whole time pushing buttons here to put things on and off the screen. Okay, so number 6, this is the BHA Trustman roof replacement in the category of community housing preservation. And subject to a grant agreement between the BHA and our committee, and that the funds be expended under the direction of the Housing Authority and the Community Preservation Act Committee. Anybody have any questions on this? I'm just going to go through them and then we'll vote on them as a group. If there are questions, we'll take that one out. Any questions on this? If you could just speak it, so I don't have to have Laura keep taking it
Just
down.
one last detail. It's funded under the unallocated budget
Oh,
reserve.
yes, right. So you'll remember that we have a community housing budget reserve and we have an unallocated budget reserve, and we have to, one of the pieces of the puzzle of a warrant article is figuring out which place you take it. It doesn't matter, it doesn't change the amount or anything of that nature, but we do have to specify in the warrant article. So this is in our unallocated budget reserve, okay? Can we move on to number 7, which is roof replacement in that, and this is the one that's in same wording, but this is and not the same amount, but this is the one that comes out of the housing budget reserve. So it's the housing account. The town has accounts, one housing, one open space, one historic preservation, and one unallocated. So part of the money's coming from the unallocated and part from the community housing budget reserve. It's just, it's not, there's not any magic about what you do. You just have to figure out what the best way to convey it. We always want to use up the housing, no, I'm sorry, any of the 3 budgeted reserves are usually targeted first because they're a little more restrictive, and in the future, if something happens and we want to purchase some open space, we need to have as much unallocated budget reserve as we can, or we want to do another large project like Walnut High, et cetera. So anybody have any questions about that? If you do, please speak up because I can't see you.
I mean, that's one that's being split between the housing budget and the unallocated.
Right. This number 6 and 7. Okay, number 8 is the BHA's project at the High Street Veterans Apartments for window preservation and replacement in the category of community housing. Again, subject to the condition of a grant agreement, because this is well, I don't know, have we always done a grant agreement with the BHA? Is that what
Yeah,
town council
yeah.
decided? Okay,
Yeah, that's
so.
town agency, I mean, state agency.
Yes, okay. So that one, that's the reason for that. It's coming out the 398,317. You recall that we could not fund the full request, but we're hoping that they can get started this way, and we're hoping that we can do it the rest next year. It's an unallocated budget reserve. Any questions on that one? Okay, we've just discussed number 9 thoroughly. We won't go through that again, and we've already voted on it. Can you move it along here? Great. Number 10 is United Parish, restoration of the steeple tower in the category of historic preservation, subject to a grant agreement. This is an outside agency between United Parish and the town, and funds to be expended under the direction of United Parish and Community Preservation Act. $800,000. It's coming from the Historic Preservation Reserve. Any questions on that? Okay, and the reason, by the way, that we have a greater amount of historic preservation reserves is we didn't, in the very beginning, we didn't have that many historic preservation requests. So there was reserve money that remained in the account, and now we're using that up. Okay, so number 11, Brookline, this is a grant, a memorandum of agreement. It's a town agency that is preserving old burial ground tombstones. Again, the memorandum of agreement between Open Space, the Parks and Open Space, and Community Preservation Act Committee for $78,300, and that's coming from that portion is coming from the Historic Preservation Reserve. Then we have number 12. It's the same project, subject again to a memorandum of agreement, same people, but we've used up now the Historic Preservation Reserve, and we're going to the unallocated budget reserve, which is $787,098. Oh, any questions about that project, number 11 and 12?
Are there actually need to be 2 separate grant agreements because the funds are from 2 different sources, or is one?
No, I don't think we've done that. We've just,
No.
we've just, that's not for the grantee, really.
That's to allow the treasurer to keep score.
Okay.
And it's to, so town meeting is the one that decides, gives its approval of this scheme to use the money from which account. But when you come to the grant agreement, it doesn't really matter. They don't care. I mean, they're just wanting to make sure that they get the money, and this is what the two items added up together are the complete project. Okay, number 13 is Parks and Open Space for tree planting inventories and planting. It preserves open space subject to the memorandum of agreement, again, under the direction of the Brookline Parks and Open Space and Community Preservation Act Committee. And this is coming from the Open Space and Recreation Budget Reserve. Again, we have some money from this year, but we also had, I think, a bit of money left over because we didn't have quite as many historic open space and recreation projects. So we had more reserve left. So this 35,000, and that's the total amount of the agreement for the tree inventory, correct? Yes. Any questions on that one? Please speak up if you have a question. All right, number 14 is the Brookline Sustainability and Natural Resources Division. D. Blakely Hoare invasive species. We've done these before. Subject to a memorandum of agreement, et cetera. This is a $20,000 ask out of the open space and recreation budget reserve. Any questions on that? Okay, move along to number 15. It's our last one, is the Parks and Open Space Division for a study to preserve and create wetlands, invasive species removal, native plantings and boardwalk at Lars Anderson Park in the category of open space and recreation, and subject again to a memorandum of agreement, et cetera. And that one is $375,000, and it's coming also from the open space and recreation budget reserve. This one, we had some questions. We went back and forth about whether it would be historic preservation or open space, but a lot of consultation and looking closely at it, it really is an open space project, even though it's touching a historic park, and it just made sense. So that's where we are. Any questions on that one? Okay, so our total budget for our projects this year is $4,072,345.
And Nancy,
yeah.
Nancy, that leaves us fulfilling our 10% responsibilities in community housing. They're at zero. Historic preservation as well. And with open space, we're left with $788,275.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. And again, the reasons for that are that we had fewer projects in that category, fewer grant requests. So that's why we have a little bit of money left over in that category. Okay, I think we can vote on all of these now as an omnibus thing, since we have voted on number 9 and specifically, and we can just vote them as a package and hand them over to Laura to produce the relevant documents. And we also do need an okay from town council. We haven't gotten that yet. We've asked and asked, but we haven't gotten it. So I'm sure we will get it before town meeting. I mean, before the warrant closes. Okay, could you put it down, please?
Do we need to have a public hearing first on the rest of these?
Well, I should ask if anybody else has, I had opened it up before. Anybody else have any questions, any members of the public about any of these? Not the housing, not the BHA, because we've done that, but any of the others. I don't think so. I think there's no way. So let's go ahead and vote, and then I'll close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to approve the submission of this warrant article for the spring town meeting, as we have amended it during the meeting itself? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Steve moves. A second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a couple of seconds. I heard Sam. So we will go to a vote. Blair,
Aye.
Clara,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Minnie,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
I think I got everyone, and the chair votes aye. Okay, we've done it. That's amazing. All right, I wasn't sure we would. I don't think we have to have a meeting next week. I'm sure you will all be cheered by that. We've had one every Monday night for the past several times. This will give Laura sufficient time to get town council's approval and move on to submission of it's not only the warrant article, but it's also an explanation. which we don't have to actually approve. It's basically, but if anybody wants to see it before it's actually finalized, just let Laura know and she'll send you a draft. I don't think it's a big deal, frankly, but it's just to explain what we've done. Okay, so I'm gonna close the public hearing. And we're gonna go on to our regular meeting. So we have number 3 on the agenda is our upcoming meetings at 5:30 on Zoom, February 9th, which we've just said we don't need, and then March 9th would be the next meeting. Are there any other updates that any committee members want to bring to the attention of the committee?
Yeah, one question. Have we got up-to-date compilation of the rubric scoring? Or we still have some outstanding?
I received minis today. I think Blair offered to send his, or maybe he already sent his. I'm trying to remember if there's a couple more that I'm waiting on. I didn't know if it was needed, given that we've already kind of passed considering the rubric, or if you'd still like me to pursue any outstanding.
So
Well, I
my
think,
thought
yeah.
is,
Oh, go ahead, Minnie.
no, I was just going to say, I'd actually like for everyone's to be collected, which is why even though I knew we had the meeting last week and whatever,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
put in my scores as though I was filling it out before the meeting. But what I'd like to do is actually use the completed rubrics to just kind of identify where we can do like where we can make it a little bit better.
Mhm.
And also, for committee members to share their kind of response or their just initial reactions, because I know that, for example, Sue had emailed me about a couple of things and I was like, I can definitely incorporate that the next time around. But the idea is if you're going to use a rubric, let's kind of make it in a way that's actually
Yeah.
Yeah.
create some
We
differentiation.
you should do it while it's fresh.
Yes.
So maybe what we should do is on March the 9th, we should have a discussion while the thing is fresh in our minds of what we liked, what we didn't like. Did we see, ways of improving it or make suggestions or
You
whatever?
should send the
Uh,
comments to Minnie so she can
Right.
maybe compile
Minnie,
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Please. I mean, please do. And
yeah.
I won't feel badly. There's no pride of ownership or anything in this. So, be brutal, say what you have to say, just because, the idea is to make it better, right?
Right.
Well, it's pretty good right now. Thank you, Minnie, for your efforts.
It's
Oh.
quite good right now. I do had some questions about, the question I guess is one of the things that I found, I didn't know how to respond to it is that if in a particular situation, one of the questions was not applicable, there wasn't really a way to indicate that. And
Yeah.
so I didn't, necessarily wanted to take away from the whole score, but I wanted it to be something that, we looked at. I don't know I don't have a solution, but I identified.
No, and actually, yeah, and this is, this is on me because I had thought of that, and my thought was to default to a 2, which is a middle score, but clearly I did not communicate that to anyone. So, it was just in my head, and so I think it's just something for next time, which is to say you want to give it a score and it doesn't penalize, because if you put nothing in, then,
Exactly.
Yeah, which is
then you are
actually,
going to penalize. Yeah.
yeah, so I do have everyone's, except I discouraged Blair from sending me his, I think, because I was like, I don't even know if we're using them. So go ahead and send me yours. I'll put it in. And I would also say, so David left a couple of his 0 for Affordable Housing Trust and High Street Veterans, I think, because he was postponing rating until the committee had more details or something. So I'm wondering if maybe those should become a 2 per your comment, Minnie, just so we have some consistency, or if you'd like to just leave them as a 0, David. I don't know we'd like to handle that.
Well, maybe it's a 0 because you really don't see anything in the application that allows you to score that item.
Yeah. I mean, yes, the 0 could be a 0, right? I mean, so let's
Yeah.
not take away from that value. And I mean, just from a process perspective, I felt like we had a lot of conversations the day that the rubrics was submitted. So, you know, I mean, clarity around a couple of the projects. And I was like, you know, I wonder whether anyone would have changed their rating based on what they learned on that call. So that's also something for us to consider further
Right.
down, like on March 9th.
Yeah, gives us a month, or a little more. Okay, the only other business I would propose is whether Laura, you have any other reports to give us, or you will do that on March 9th, about how our grants are spending their money, grantees are spending their money and giving us the invoices, and, you know, I think that would be a good time to.
Yeah, I've been chasing down outstanding quarterly reports from some folks. So that will give me time to get all of those updates and be able to put together a report for you for March.
Right,
And then you
right,
can get a snapshot of how everybody's doing.
right.
Mhm.
Okay,
And maybe in April, we'll be able to dig into the HAB CPAC. Let's call it something besides a memorandum of understanding.
well, yeah, all right. Okay, do we have anybody else want to say anything before we close it, before we adjourn? All right, Minnie and Sam, I think we made it.
Yeah. Exactly. I was like,
That's-
okay.
yeah.
5 more minutes.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Sam moves,
I'll
I
second.
second.
Minnie seconds. Okay, Blair,
I,
Clara,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Minnie,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
I.
Brooke, and the chair votes aye. And I will say one more thing. In the beginning, I said I didn't know Nina Brown. That's not correct. I do know Nina Brown. But I'm getting older, and sometimes I have to really search back in my brain for the information, but I found it. So Nina, glad you could join us. Okay,
Bye,
so
everyone.
Night.
see you March 9th.
Bye all. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, one more thing, guys, you will need, and upon Laura's pleading with you to go to town hall to sign the submission to Melissa Goff. We have to sign, as members of the committee, we need to sign, and we'll have to get who's not here? Oh, Sue. Yeah, I'll have to remind, Laura, could you remind her as well? Once it's done, once it's complete. So it'll probably be a couple of weeks, or maybe a week and a half, maybe, Laura?
We just need 10 people to sign it.
We don't just need the committee, since we're a town committee. We don't have to have 10, we can have 9. The first year, Melissa thought we should have 10, so we did. I ran around to some of my neighbors. But I think that now that, it's okay if it's just the committee. If we need somebody else, there are a couple of people in town hall that I know who live in Brookline, I'm sure would sign
Yeah,
up.
I'll
so.
just print it up and I will leave it with the front admin folks, so you can stop by any time during town hall hours that's convenient for you and sign it and not have to depend on me necessarily being there.
So Laura, your days in the office are Monday and Thursday?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, just so you guys know.
Okay, well, Sue Cohen's going to be away all month, right? So we're not going to, this has to be submitted when before the warrant closes. She may not be available.
All right.
So
Well, I
tell me
guess
again, what's the deadline, Nancy?
25th of February, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I could consult with Melissa and see whether we really need the full committee, just a, quorum of the committee, I'd like as many committee members to sign it as possible. But if not, I mean, the burden of getting a couple of more signatures is not very high. So,
Is Laura, will it be ready like on Thursday or is it?
Yeah,
or next
yeah, I
week?
already have a draft. So it's just a matter of Thursday, I can print one out.
And what floor are you on?
We're on
third,
3rd floor of Town Hall. Yeah,
in
in
the planning
the planning
department.
office.
You're in the
Mhm.
planning, okay.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
okay. See
Yeah,
you
thank
all March 9th.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.